With gold being so expensive right now, it is rife for scammers and fraudsters out there to try and fake it. And one of the most commonly faked items on the bullion market are bullion bars in assay cards. Oof, they are the bane of the second-hand market. So many people buy them and just expect them to be real because they're in an assay card. What if there was a way, though, that you could check and make sure these bars are genuine? Well, there is, and these machines will help you do that. So, are they worth buying even though we can test and make sure these are absolutely genuine? We're going to talk a little bit about the fractionality of gold and gold bars and whether or not they are worth it, or whether we should just stick with the big chunky 1 ounce versions, which arguably are a lot easier to test and make sure are genuine, and also whether or not these are worth the premiums. A lot to get through in today's Precious Metal Ramble. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome to another Precious Metal Ramble where we have down-to-earth discussions about all things precious and shiny. Now today we're going to be talking about the fractional nature of gold and its popularity, and ask the question, is it worth buying these kind of products, gold bars and assay cards, over perhaps the cheapest ounce of gold that you can get anywhere at the moment? And I sold this earlier this week for less than spot price on our Buyers Club. There is no doubt that buying 1 ounce gold right now is the cheapest way to accumulate gold into one stack, but it's less versatile, it's difficult to insure when posting, and it's just not as collectible. The premiums on it is just not there right now. So fractional gold, like these 5 gram gold bars, or even lower down to the 1 gram, the 2.5 gram sizes, they are much more popular right now. But they do come with their pitfalls, because these in assay cards are some of the most commonly counterfeited products on the market. Fortunately, there is an easy way that we can mitigate that counterfeitability. If that's not a word, it is now, and that's these Sigmas. The Sigmas are an incredible piece of technology, sponsored by Trusty Metrics, the UK's exclusive supplier of these machines. Go and check them out. There's a link in the description box below. There's also a 6% discount code, which I think is still available and easy to use. It's BYB Cool, I think it is from memory, and that can be found down in the description box as well. That will be the cheapest place that you can buy these anywhere. Now, I don't get a kickback if you go and use that code. I am a brand ambassador for Trusty Metrics and for these machines. I think they're great. We're going to talk a little bit more about them and show how they can help you catch the bad bars in assay cards, because despite these being incredibly easy to counterfeit, these machines will sort them out from the riffraff any day of the week. It's really, really good. So with that said, it'd be great to hear what you've got to say about fractional stuff down in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed to our channel already, then please do, as we march on towards 100,000 subscribers. We recently got past 81,000. That's mental. So thank you, and let's get on with the video. So I have been talking about fractional gold for a while now. The writing has been on the wall as far as my own stack has been concerned for a while. About 18 months ago, I started liquidating all my 1 ounce Britannias and various things like that to trade out for sovereigns, because I do think that the fractional nature of sovereigns is much more flexible. I would always be concerned about the nature of big 1 ounce gold coins being insurable now, especially as they're over the limit for insurance through registered or tracked postage. It's just not very good. Sovereigns are more for me. I'm a bit more of a historian. I love the history of sovereigns. The fractional nature of them is great in terms of the weight being one sovereign around 650 pounds right now, a half sovereign about 375. That works for me and everything that I would want to have. I don't really need to go all the way down to those 1 gram versions of around 85 to 100 pounds, depending on the type. I'm quite happy with half sovereigns and full sovereigns right now. Maybe I'll be making the same video in 2-3 years time for cashing all my sovereigns into half sovereigns. But the point is that fractional gold is here and it's here to stay. I think long gone are the days of 1 ounce gold being the best thing to buy. Now, in terms of price point, you will be paying less for a 1 ounce gold than you will for many different fractional grammed gold bars, but you get more versatility with it. However, the fractional nature of these and the fact that they are often presented in assay cards like this does make them a target for fraud. And they've always been targeted for fraud, because unfortunately gold is a lot more valuable to potentially get that reward. If you can fool somebody for a 450 gram gold bar that cost you a tenner to make, then you are laughing all the way to the bank. Whereas with things like silver coins, it might make 20 quid, 30 quid here and there, but really it's just not worth it en masse. But these often are targeted because they're in the assay cards and it's difficult to test them without these kind of machines. And these are just so good at testing, and it's so much better than the original versions, which are still available through Trusty Metrics. But as you'll see in a moment, we're going to do density tests on these gold bars to really get to grips with whether or not they are perfect. Now, you can't do the traditional density test on a bar like this without taking out the assay card, and therein lies the fraudsters' advantage. They don't want you to break this out the assay card because you'll be somewhat damaging the value of the item. Now, I kind of disagree in many ways, because if I put these two gold bars up and I put, I don't know, £10 difference for one in an assay card and one out the assay card, I still think they'd sell. Absolutely, they would sell. A 5 gram gold bar right now is really, really good for anybody. I've got one that I took out of an assay card from this raw mint packaging just because it had a horrible bit of quality control, and I was a little bit intrigued to see what it would look like. And from a testing perspective, it makes absolutely no difference. Now, we've got here the Sigma Pro and the Sigma Investor. Both of these do the same test that we're about to do here. And I'm going to start it with the sovereigns because it's really important to do this with all the coins that you get. So if you're going to test your sovereign, yeah, that's a great test. It's saying that it's got the surface level readings all fine and it's got a through reading, which is all fine. However, there are ways that you can trick these machines by having an alloy that has the same resistivity, which is what this is measuring, as a sovereign. So to do that double check, what you need to do is you need to do the dimensions test, the density test. So on all of your coins, this is what you should be doing. And this is definitely what you should be doing on these bars as well. And you'll get this little green line that comes up. You put them between the two lines, and if they're at that set, if they're just touching, like this is, that says to me, this is the perfect dimensions and density for 22 karat gold. Bob's your uncle, job done, that's easy. So is that as easy to do with the 5 gram gold bars? So we have to go to a slightly different setting here. So we're going to go to pure gold. We are going to change the weight down here. It's very important to get the right settings on this. Sometimes I've done it in other videos where I've tested sovereigns and they've not been on 5 grams instead of 8 grams. When you're doing density tests, it's really important to make sure you're on those. And what I would say is that Trusty Metrics will walk you through all of this. If you go and buy their machines and you're not sure on something, they are incredible at helping people get to grips with how to work these machines. So here we go. We've got our 5 gram gold bar outside of the assay card. We're going to put that on the sensor there, and we can see we're getting a nice green reading for the surface, and we're getting a nice green reading for the through reading. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean it's all good. So instead we have to go to the dimensions test. We go down to rectangular because this is a bar. It's a rectangular shape, not a coin. And we click that button. And you'll see this lovely little rectangular box comes up with a green line. And we pop our little gold bar on there, and it should fit absolutely perfectly within that box. And like that, like a glove, it has perfect. Absolutely no doubt in my mind that that is fine. But what about the one in the assay card? Now, we can't take this out of the assay card, as I said, without potentially damaging some of the value of it. So here we go. We're going to put it underneath there, and we're getting a good value. So it tests through the plastic of the assay card, which is fantastic. Now, this is where somewhat of the problem lies, because we've got the same density test, and that rectangle looks almost identical. But then, you know, getting this perfectly lined up is going to be hard. There is a bit of a gap around the edge of the assay card that we might be able to just about see where we're putting the bar, but it's not easy to line up. But it's convenient that I've got one that's exactly the same that is outside. Now, of course, this isn't definitive because, you know, we're density testing this one here, not this one here, but you can see that that is pretty good. And if you are top-down approach, you can probably get that lined up just right. So really good. And it's a really helpful way of being able to test that additional layer, but it is a little bit faffy with the assay card in place. So perhaps if you are going to buy them, then make sure you get bars like this with a wide aperture so that you can really see where it is. So let's test this Valcambi bar as well. Let's put that on the sensor there. We might have to turn this one around because the plastic is a little bit high off the edge of the sensor there. So there we go. We can see that's giving us nice green readings. And we go measure and we go rectangular. And then we've got our little thing there. And do you know what? I'm just going to get a top-down approach. And it's not perfect because it's sort of, you know, going through the assay card. But from my eyes, that is fitting perfectly within that square. So, or that rectangle, I should say. So a really, really good way to be able to test those really easy counterfeitable gold bars with the Sigmas and the Sigma Pros. And that density test is one of the best things about these machines because, as I said, these are dime a dozen in terms of the fakes, and people go to extraordinary lengths to make sure that they look as genuine as they can. There are other ways that you can test and see whether or not something is real from you estimate the size of it, but the problem with these is you can't really accurately weigh them because they're in the assay card, so you're weighing the assay card as well. So be very careful when buying those fractional gold bars. Now, one thing I would say is that the investor model, which I've got out here on the table, is also a very good tool for this, and it will do the exact same tests as we've just shown there. If we go to the 5-gram gold bars, I've lost my 5-gram gold bar. Where'd it go? Ah, here it is. I'm sure you guys were screaming at me. Right, so we're going to test this 5-gram gold bar over here on the investor model. What I would say is the investor model is often a little bit easier to use and a bit more reliable to use on the really, really small bars because you've got this arm that you can push down. Now, we have tested it there and we're going to go through and we're going to do the rectangular test here. And again, we've got that all perfectly matching up in that little box, easy peasy. But what I would say is that the arm here makes it a lot more easy for something like this product. As I showed earlier, you know, because you're not being able to get it close to the sensor, if we try it this way around, we should be able to get a reading from this side of the bar, which you couldn't do on that side. So both of these products have pluses and minuses, and they'll have different benefits. And that's one thing that Trusty Metrics will help you work through in terms of your purchase decisions. And I've said there's a discount code down in the description box below. You can go and you can talk with Trusty Metrics about the different types of machines, all of their pluses and minuses. I know that they take great pride in what they do and helping people make the right decisions for them. And that's one of the things that sets them apart from just going and buying one of these machines online and not really knowing about it, because they will give you that customer care support. They'll give that customer care support before you buy, after you buy. And if there are any problems as well, having the fact that they're in the UK, they're UK based, if there is a problem in the machine or something you're not sure and you need some extra support after you've bought it, it's super easy and you can just get in touch with them, and they have, and I know they will help anybody. They will even help people who haven't been buying from Trusty Metrics, and they have these machines because they take such great pride in them and they stand by the technology. And so do I. They're really, really good. So there we have a very easy way to get to grips with some fractional gold and to add it to your stack with a reliable way of knowing whether or not it's genuine or not. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. If you have, then please let YouTube know by hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Otherwise, go and check out the discount code in the description box below for Trusty Metrics, BYB Cool. We'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.